Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we are filming a video that has now become annually where I talk about and showcase and recommend some Asian books. So I started this now, or this is the 4th year. Do you now say 3 years ago or do you say 4 years ago? I'm not sure. I wanted to just make a video of like basically almost all of the Asian books I read, separating them into genres, giving a short synopsis, and then more showcase on these different Asian books. I will admit that I don't love equally all the books here. Obviously, there's some here that I personally didn't love a lot, but I do think that a lot of people do like them. They're just not for me. And I just want like I was gonna say compendium of different Asian books in one video that people can just easily access, look through for some breaks and then read up about them themselves if they're more interested in the book, etc. Rules that we have is that a book that's been mentioned before is not going to be again in this video. So while I love Jade City and Poppy War, they were in the first video of this, so like I'm not going to show them here again. I usually only showcase the ones that I own, but now that I'm starting to use my library more, that might change a lot next year, but we shall see. I just buy a lot of books anyway, so I don't know. And I try to not like give much thoughts of what I thought about these books in this video. This is just more like a general, let's show all these books. And I have lots of fun doing it. It's basically all the Asian books that I have read the last year. And I am almost ashamed that, consider how many books I read, how few this is of those books. But let's not talk about that. Let's go through these Asian recommendations. So today I actually have 49 books, which is the most we had since episode 1. That's a good thing, I guess. And we are starting off, as always, with adult fantasy, which is quite a lot this year compared to last year. Happy, actually, looking over, the most it has been ever, because all the other years it was less titles. Love to see it, love to hear it. First we have Untethered Sky by Fauna Lee. This is Fauna Lee's news release in like this short novella from tour. Short and impactful, you could say. So this is set in this war where everyone tame birds, and there's like these creatures roaming the land, and then those creatures killed her whole family for our main character, and she is going out for revenge, and has been wanting this revenge her whole life. So that's basically what we have. Short, perfect for readathon. Yeah, that's what I got to say. Then we have Rincha Pecos, Savor Under Nightfall, which is a vampire book with a polar relationship. And we have, I was gonna say, again, a main character whose mother was killed and now is looking more into this because he thinks that what they said happened was not what actually happened. And then like more things is unveiled and uncovered in this court vampire life, and things unravel, etc. He is also a vampire hunter. I feel like I explained this really badly. I'm sorry. I glimpsed at the synopsis and I'm like, that's not what I said, but it's what I said, but in a different way. Art of Prophecy by Ashley Chu. This one here, we follow the chosen one who has been brimmed up all his life to be the chosen one, like really, really spoiled. And we have this elderly lady coming in and being like, why are you raising him like this? He's not going to be equipped to fulfill the prophecy of killing this king. But then she's basically there to teach him how to behave, and then the king that he was supposed to kill dies by someone else. So what does he do with his life then? Very, very interesting concepts and cool material arts. The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshan Chakshi is a standalone. There's this dude that has married this woman, and then he's uncovering kind of her past in this house that they are in. And then we get flashbacks to her childhood where she was good friends with this other girl. And it's kind of a mystery, but magical and very, very, I was going to say, lyrical and atmospheric. Then we have the Dandelion Dynasty. I'm struggling. I wanted to showcase all 4 of them because, well, I read all 4 of them last year actually. And the spines, you know, make a picture. And then also the covers make a picture. But that is besides the point. This is a grand fantasy series following this Dandelion Dynasty. They take over this throne on these, I was going to say, islands. And then it's about their reign and how they need to keep a hold to it. They first have civil war, they have invasions from the outside, it is grand and vast and slightly confusing, but honestly the payoff in the end. Either way, if you didn't already know about them, but I feel like a lot of people do, Now you do. I struggle with knowing if I should put Whale by Shan Myung Kwan in here or in like Litfic, because it is more like a Litfic magic realism book, but since it has magic and it's an adult, I'm putting it here, okay? It's hard life. This follows a series of members of this family that are really weird in a way that they have almost like supernatural abilities, but very like subtle. And then they go through tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy, and it's like super, super sad, but very fulfilling. We basically just start off with this young woman who is trying to survive. She's very poor, and then she builds this empire, and it's a lot of focus on like cinema and movies, which is why we have like a movie theater on the cover. And it's just, I cannot for the life of me describe this because it's so bizarre and weird. So you should just check it out. Upon a Burning Throne by Ashoke Banker. This one is almost following like a dynasty of a family also, which is kind of funny. We had that quite a lot here apparently. It follows this empire where two heirs are born. One of them is born blind while the other one is born albino. We have this really intense different wars and battles, and also a lot of political intrigue, which was very fascinating, and other like obviously fantasy happening. It feels like an Indian epic, which is kind of I think the point. Very interesting is what I got to say. Hurricane Wars by Thea Gunsson, which is a Raylo retelling, I was going to say, inspired and set in a world inspired by like myths and legends from the Philippines. Then we have this girl who has light powers and this dude who has dark powers, and then the dark powers father's dude has been ruling or trying to take over these islands for a long time, and this girl is on the other side of this battle. And then a bit of, you know, the Darkling and Alina in there, if you know what I mean. The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. This one, we follow Arms Master who gets, I was going to say, sexually harassed out of her job, and then she joins this bandits group that is making havoc across the land, or like at least the countryside of where they are, and then obviously the army etc needs to answer. Interesting setup for a story. The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, following this god that has escaped from her children because they were abusing her and trapped her. So they embark on this journey over 5 days, get to freedom permanently since she just escaped, and it is a journey, literally. Now that was all out of fantasy. We're now going to YA fantasy, starting off with Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelia Wen Chao. We follow our main character where she lives in this country that colonizers has taken over, and she has a lot of trauma and different things inside of her that can maybe lead her country to freedom, and she meets this other dude that is going out to help her, and together they embark on this journey, and we need to see what they can make out of it. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan, where we follow the daughter of the Moon Goddess literally, and she is going out on this quest to free her mother from being trapped on the moon. Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong is set in the same world as These Violent Delights, and for another character from that series, a character that needs to go undercover or is undercover and investigate these murders happening in Shanghai in 1931. Had to double check the year. A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Eileen, following a main character that I can't remember main character names, okay? That enters this competition. She wants to win this competition to get this boom to save her sister from poisoning. This One Kingdom by Tara Mafi. This one is following a main character who is secretly a Jinn, and the Jinns have been like, I was going to say exterminated from the country because the king had a vision that a Jinn would take down his reign. And then she is discovered, and then the prince and her have these different interactions. He doesn't know what she is yet at that time, and then things evolve from there. That's what I got to say, apparently. Herodian Curse by Elizabeth Lim, set in the same world as Six Crimson Cranes. It is a prequel to Six Crimson Cranes, but you can read this without having read those. You can also read those first, and this, it depends a bit what you feel like, because in a way, Six Crimson Cranes spoils the end of this, but it's done in such a good way that it doesn't matter. We follow a main character who has been cursed all her life with like snake skin or scales. I don't know what to call it. And her sister's like the beauty of the beauty in the whole world. And she's been protecting her sister all her life. And now her sister's going to be sold off the marriage. And the plot thickens, is what I got to say. Then I have Gorgeous Gruesome Faces by Linda Chang, which I realize now I am gonna put in YA Fantasy. This one follows this pop group that was very popular. And then they did this ritual and one of them died. And now we have kind of them another chance at getting famous. But I do think they more want answers than anything else. Things unravel from there. It is kind of horror, at least a mystery with like magical aspects. And then pop, yay. Or pop, famous people, yay. Then we have She Is a Haunting by Trang Tan Tran, which for this young girl that is gonna spend the summer with her estranged dad and her sister. And then they go to this house where weird stuff is happening. And things unravel from there. Another like mystery horror. I mean, I guess this could have kind of been fantasy as well. The last of YA Fantasy, we have A Drop of Venom by Saini Patel. This one is a Medusa retelling, but with Indian mythology. So we have a main character that used to be one of the... Now I can't remember the creature name. No. Like the snake people. I just can't remember the name right now. She also is sexually assaulted and she goes out on this revenge kind of journey. And then we have a main dude. He is a monster hunter and he hears about the monster he needs to hunt, but he doesn't know it is her. And they did meet before this happened, but he doesn't again know it is her. So we get like flashbacks of like things happening in the past and then like the present tense where this hunt is happening. Done very interestingly. I can't say the word interestingly. I'm struggling. Then we have adult sci-fi, which always is the saddest genre. But actually, why sci-fi is sadder this time around. Starting off with In the Vengeful City by S. Jin Lu. This one is set in this city where everyone is in this kind of dream state, I would say. And then we have this stranger coming from outside in the city. And then one of our characters who wants to go and live in a different way, you could say. Very... I was gonna say almost philosophical, but just done in a different way, I guess. This is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal Al-Motar. This one follows Red and Blue, who write letters to each other over time and are in love. And it is through the universe and through time and space. Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. This is more of a dystopia than a sci-fi, but I put dystopia under sci-fi, so that's me. And then we follow the main character of a child, actually, that had their mother abandon them. He goes out to find out like what actually where his mother disappeared to and why. But yeah, more focus on this mother and son relationship, I guess, than like the actual world we are in. But still, obviously, a dystopia. But also a bit literary fiction. Whatever you want to say. Then we have one YA sci-fi, which is like, okay, and I don't even know if it's actually YA, but I am just putting it in here because we have Battle Royale by Koshun Takami. This is the novel edition, and it is basically the Hunger Games before Hunger Games, where we have lots of kids that are put into this game and they need to kill each other. And there's like one class chosen out to do this, and then we follow different characters and how they're trying to survive and, wow, kill each other. Very fun. Not really, because obviously we don't want kids killing each other, but you get the point. Then we have loads of adult fiction. Love to see it. Starting off with Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromo Kawakami. This one, I think it's hard to describe, but it basically is about this young woman, but she's not really young. How old is she? Like in her 30s? I don't remember. And then she meets her teacher that she used to have. I don't remember exactly, maybe I think in high school. And then they become really good friends and kind of fall in love. And it is really strange, but very like sorrowful and like, what's it called? Tender is the word. Still weird to describe it though. And we have Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. I don't really know how to describe this, but I can read what it says here. It says, Kitchen is two tales about mothers, transsexuality, bereavement, kitchens, love, and tragedy. So we had two different point of views. And then basically have our main character finding out about the mother and like the life that the mother felt. And then also I think after that we get the point of view of the mother, if I remember correctly. Very interesting that like it can bring up so many things, and it was written in 1997. Just saying. Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. This one we have this band of mischiefs. I was gonna say that it's gonna do this heist of stealing back art that was stolen from China. And they go out on this impossible heist. So have a bit of suspense of disbelief and go for the ride. Some people will probably put this in YA, but I think Twisted Love by Anna Huang is a adult fiction. So this is the first one in the Twisted series, which is very, very popular right now. And it follows a young, sweet, sunshine girl and then the grumpy dude that is her brother's best friend, and he needs to watch over her while her brother is away. And then sparks. It is a very toxic relationship, but a very good, entertaining time. I was just thinking about the plot twists in the end, and I was just sitting there like, it's just hilarious, honestly. Breast and Eggs by Miyako Kawakami. Not the only Miyako Kawakami here. Actually, I have loads to come. I don't even know how to describe this book, but we basically have this character that is gonna have a visit from her sister and her daughter this one summer, and then she's considering getting breast implants. And then a bit later we have like her meeting them again after it's been a few years, and then she's an aspiring writer, so we're seeing like where that is at as well. It's like the randomness and atmosphere of like Japanese fiction. They are super hard to describe, but the vibes are always there. The Borrowed by Chan Ho Kei. I don't remember why I picked this up, because now I feel like it is like the most random thing in the world. But this one follows this detective that is gonna go out of with pension. Does he die actually? I think maybe he dies. That's like the first thing that happens. And then for each chapter we go back in his life to see his most famous cases and like how he became the detective he was in present day. And I just thought that was a really interesting way to have that story told. And then we have this really fascinating different cases that like he solves with his Sherlock Holmes powers, I would say, and it is such a good time. But it was just really interesting, and I had literally no idea, honestly, why did I pick this up. I think it was for a challenge, but I don't know what, and I just feel like it was the most random thing for me to pick up. But honestly, such a good vibe. Not a good vibe because there was murders, but you get what I meant. Finally read Life Ceremony by Sayaka Murata. I'm saying finally because she's one of my favorite authors. This is the short collection from the author, and I had to wait for it to come in the right height. Okay, judge me. So this one does bring up a lot of the things that was in Convenience Store Woman and what's the other one called again? Earthlings. I feel like there is like ongoing topics in Sayaka Murata's books where it's a lot about like why are we forced to live in this capitalism society, and why is everyone judging someone if they still work in a grocery store, and cannibalism, and just like not belonging in this world, and just the judgment of others, etc. It was just so many like different weird concepts in here that you can just expect from the author. Absolutely knocked it out of the park, honestly. Then we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, The Queen of My Heart, which follows June, who steals the book of Athena, who was her friend that died. And she's white while Athena was Asian, and she's kind of pretending to be Asian to be able to publish this book. And this is sort of discovered maybe, but at least things just spin out and go off the rails, and it is absolutely a blast. Our main character is very unreliable, and it is a book that is very interesting to read. That's what I got to say. I could talk about it for much longer time, but yeah. Now we have another Miyako Kawakami, which is Miss Ice Sandwich. It's a super short book following this young boy who kind of has a crush slash obsession with this woman who works at this sandwich place, and that's what we got. It is very, very short. It is like 80 pages. So yeah. Then we have Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hye-in. This one follows a mother that is, I was gonna say, she's stressed out because her daughter is gay. Literally, that's most of the book. Like, she cannot come to terms with it. It's hard to read and follow, but I cried in the end, so you can get that out of that. Marvelously written and very interesting story to follow. Identity by Mitu Sanyao, which follows this student that finds out her professor has been pretending to be a person of color all along, to then be able to talk about like racism, etc. And she's like really good at talking about it. Like she is teaching so many people different things, but apparently she's been lying this whole time. And then there's this breach of trust, and our main character come to terms with this, who is not white, as I remember. And this is very interesting because it brings up so many accurate things to our society, a bit of the themes in Yellowface as well, you could say. And I still don't know how I feel about it all, but definitely a fascinating book to read. Another crime slash detective story, Who Am I? We have The Devotion of Suspect X, or Fantal Hanimenet by Keigo Higashino. This one is originally in Japanese. I have the Norwegian edition. And it follows this woman who murders her ex, and things unravel from there. It is just brilliant. I know I wasn't gonna say much thoughts, but like what else can you say about a murder book? But it's just fascinating. I really loved how it was set up. So a very good time if you like crime and mystery in general. On completely different vibes, we have A Holly Jolly Diwali by Sonia Lally. This one follows a young woman who just did she get fired or did she quit her job? I don't remember. But then she goes to Mumbai for the first time, or in a really long time, to visit her family, and just finds herself again, and finds love and happiness, and just cherishes life in a different way. A very sweet, cute romance. Then we have A Minor Detail, or En liten detalj by Adania Shibli, which follows two point of views, which is a very difficult book to read. And we first have this murder and rape happening of this young girl by Israeli soldiers in the desert, and then we have this Palestinian woman 50 years later trying to find out what happened, because she feels like this connection with this date, and then things unravel. I had this for syllabus in school, so we just spent a lot of time talking about it. So I feel like I just like get inserted so many info of this book that I didn't consider when I first read it. So it like now left a huge impression on me because of that. Which is why sometimes reading for school can work really well. Then we had Diary of a Void, which follows a young woman who experiences sexual harassment and misogynistic work environment, and then potentially is pregnant to get out of this. I heard it pitched as just like a woman potentially is pregnant, and it is about so much more than that. There's so much underlying stuff for why she does this. A lot to do with loneliness as well. And truly a heartfelt book. Interrupt the program, interrupt everything. I realized I have forgot to write up one book under adult fiction, which means in fact we have 50 books here, not 49. Love it. That was in fact All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami once again. And this one follows a young woman. I'm looking at the synopsis, that like she's a proofreader, and then she works a lot, and then she meets this dude that like, I was gonna say, interrupt her daily routines. And then she feels not necessarily numb, but she's very like, she goes through the motions kind of life. And yeah, that's what I got to say. That was all for adults. Now we're going into YA fiction. We are starting off with, if I could grab the book that it flew away literally from my hands, How It All Blew Up by Arvind Ahmadi. So this one follows a character that literally escapes from all his obligations and life, like a 70-year-old boy, to Italy, because he's just like, no, I don't want to deal with any of this, goodbye. And then he leaves. And then we have this, at the same time, airport interrogation where they tell the airport guards about the scene that they had, because they were like taken into security, which is in itself is ugh. But either way, and that's how we find out the full story. In Italy, he finds love, and he finds happiness, and he finds so many people that takes him in. And why am I getting goosebumps thinking about this book? I don't know, but there was something about like the family aspects on the drama of this book that was incredibly fun. Then I read not one, and not two, but 3 books by Mary H.K. Choi. So now, since I literally read them all after one another, they do blend a bit in my mind together. I think Emerging Contacts, what about these 2 teens that use each other a bit as emergent contacts? They like talk a lot about, I was gonna say, this life in text and stuff, but don't really like meet up in real. And then one of them moves because she wants to be a writer, and the other one is just like stuck and doesn't know what she wants to do. And they connect through this and are each other emergency contacts. And in Permanent Record, we have a main dude that is just living a chill life, and then I think he's struggling paying for college or something. And then he meets this famous singer, like young girl. She's super, super famous. And then like life, of course, becomes a bit chaotic because of this. And they like start dating, etc. And then in Yolk, we follow two sisters. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. This one is very sad. We have a main character who has an eating disorder, so she's struggling a lot with that. And then her sister, they've never really been close, but now they're close in a different way. And her sister now got cancer. And then the story goes from there. I honestly, wow. Okay. Then we have Cafe Con Luci by Amber Lee, which follows these two boys. And then one of them has like, they had this cafe for like a billion years and it's going like okay. And then a new like super fancy cafe opens beside them. I was gonna say that one of them works in the other cafe, but I don't think so. It just opens and then they hated each other for a long time, but then they start helping each other so that like they can beat that other cafe, I believe. Cute and foodie cover. Then we have Lobo Taipei and Lobo Reunion. I actually brought this a while ago, but I didn't own a physical copy, and then I finally did, so then it can finally be in this video. This one, the first one at least, is set in Taiwan, where we have this Lobo, which is kind of like a summer camp that everyone joins, and it's a bit set up so that you would find your life partner. A lot of important people's kids are there. And then we have our main character in this one. She wants to be a dancer, but her parents want her to be a doctor. And then she also meets different boys. And drama ensues. And then in this one, we follow different main characters, different couple. Absolutely a blast with both of them. And I think there's a third book, but as I've seen, I don't remember if it's out or if it's coming. But it's the third book with another couple again. We have My Father the Panda Killer by Jamie Yu Huang. This one follows a daughter where she has this hard relationship with her father who immigrated from Vietnam, and then she is told his story, or she's telling the story of their father to her brother, I think, that he has had a hard life too, and that's why it's very difficult between the three of them, I would say. And now she's soon going away for college. She's a bit scared for this to leave her brother alone with her father, and then you just need to read this heartfelt story to find out. It is a hard-hitting one, truly. Now we only have a few books left and very few categories left. So we have graphic novel / manga. I usually don't put all my mangas in like here that I have read, because obviously there's so many more I want to recommend than the ones I mentioned in these videos. So I usually have other videos for manga, but I still want to include some that I read or some that are not mangas at least. But this year I did pick out Berserk by Kotaro Miura because I did finish all of Berserk, and it has become one, if not the favorite manga, so I thought that I have to have it in this video. It is terrible and gruesome and look up trigger warnings, but it follows Guts who's a swordsman, and it goes around killing the things in this land that are monsters, and then we go back in time to see why is he going around doing this on his own, and it is heartbreaking, one of the best and grand stories I have ever read. I don't think it was smart to do Berserk last, because now Berserk needed to be on the top. Then I want to include another manga, which was Goodbye Eri by Tatsuki Fujimoto, because this is a standalone, and it follows this main character that wants to make a movie, and is making a movie within a movie, and you don't really know what's real, and I think that was why it was so good and atmospheric. It's very fascinating the way it is told, and I do wonder if they're going to make an adaptation out of it, because I would love to see it visually, since it's literally about movies. Then for poetry, I have one here for you today, which is Hope is Lonely by Kim Seung-hee. This is a translated poetry collection. I do think translating poetry is very fascinating in general. I don't know if I can describe what I felt when I read it, but I do think it had some really beautiful poetry in here. I think it's really cool that you can get the Korean and the English side by side, so that if you want to follow the lines or you know both languages, you can compare them. So I thought that was cool. And last but not least, we had one non-fiction that I want to mention, and I actually don't even own this one, so wow, which was Making a Scene by Constance Wu. This one was her memoir, where she talks about why she kind of disappeared a bit from the online sphere and her life in general and how she's doing now. And I thought it was done really, really well, and I wish it was even more, honestly. And I generally apparently only do non-fic. I was looking at like the others I had for the other years. All of them are just memoirs, so apparently that's what I enjoy. But yeah, that was it for all these 50 Asian recommendations, not 49. And I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you can get some books that sounds interesting to you out of this. That's kind of the point. And I hope you have a good Asian readathon, which is now in May. Thank you so much for watching. Leave, in honor of Asian readathon, a rice bowl down below because that is the logo for Asian readathon. We love to see it. And you should see me soon in a new one. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!